Shalom. This is going to hopefully be a quick lesson. It's based on this week's Parasha, actually, Parasha Terumah. It's just one verse from within that I'm going to analyse because it links it up with so much that we've gone over in some of the teachings, but it also adds up these wonderful extra dimensions to it. It's quite exciting what it draws together anyway, so let's fire through it as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and not deviate at all from what's on the page. It's just a case of going through and then putting some commentary to it. So the first point then, the verse is from Exodus 25:6, and it's oil for lighting, spices for the anointing oil, and for the incense. So that's Exodus 25:6. Comes to a regular gematria of 2,731 plus an ordinal of 409, and that equals 3,140, which is 10 times Shaddai. Shaddai comes to 314, sorry. So we've got a very significant link there between this verse and Moshiach ben Yosef, because the footsteps of Moshiach ben Yosef equal 999, and that's related to El Shaddai spelt out. What's translated as God Almighty. So El Shaddai spelt out is 999. We will come across that at one point, so just to bear that in mind, there's a great significance, and that also links back to one of the appellations of Moshiach ben Yosef, that is called Repair of the World in the Malkuth of Shaddai, and that's taken from the Aleinu prayer. Okay, so we came across that in the Ramchal teaching about a pure language. That was the last teaching that I did prior to this one. So we covered that repair of the world in the Malkuth of Shaddai. So there's obviously reference also to Moshiach ben Yosef being connected to the whole and holy name of Shaddai. Right, point one then. Shemen le'me'or, oil for lighting, comes to 661, which is Esther, I do believe, hidden. Okay, and a 94 ordinal, they together come to 755, and that equals 5 times 151, which is 5 times mikvah. So this is a very, very recurring theme and a recurring value when it comes to a revelation about Moshiach, because we need to erase Amalek, and the word to erase Amalek comes to 453, and that's 3 times 151. I've gone over that concept many times. The concept of the mikveh comes up endlessly when we're revealing the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef. It's simply because it's needed to erase Amalek, and it's part of the Teshuvah process. And it's also, we were also given an example of this when Yeshua himself was mikvahed by John the Baptist, Yochanan the Immerser. Okay, so that should be, we shouldn't need to go over that any further. Point 2 then. So we've got the 94, which is the ordinal of that. What do we have for this then? We've got 2 times Yaakov is 94. The ordinal of Yaakov is 47. Okay, so 2 times 47 is 94. Okay. And we've also got Eliyahu Atishbi. This is one of the appellations for Eliyahu, if you like. We know Eliyahu is very much connected to a revelation of Moshiach, and there's different ways we call him. There's a song that we sing at Havdalah, which is this separate. Havdalah is the small ritual that occurs at the end of Shabbat to distinguish between the holiness of Shabbat and the mundane 6 days of the week. Okay, so there's a little ceremony, and you sing a song to Eliyahu Hanavi, and there's 3 different titles you give him. You give him Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Tishbi, Eliyahu Agiladi. Okay, so these are the 3 ways Eliyahu is described in the Tanakh. Okay, so Eliyahu Hanavi, we come across that quite a lot in the revelation of Moshiach. Eliyahu Hanavi is connected to, because it's got a value of 120, is connected to the power that Eliyahu gives Moshe to overcome Amalek and Sheker. Okay, because Eliyahu Hanavi is 120, comes to 120 gematria, and Sheker is 60, which is falsehood, and Amalek, doubt, is 60. So together, Eliyahu Hanavi comes against that whole force of Sheker and the whole force of doubt. That is the flow from above that strengthens Moshiach, that strengthens Moshe of the generation to hopefully build himself up to that level of Moshiach till he's fully revealed as Moshiach. Eliyahu Teshbi, we can see, must be something to do with truth, empowering Yaakov with truth. Okay, because we know that Yaakov is synonymous to truth. We know that Yaakov is synonymous to good inclination. We know that the good inclination needs to be empowered by the truth in order to defeat our evil inclination, which is synonymous with Esav, which is synonymous with our evil inclination, and which is synonymous with falsehood and fantasy and fiction, basically. So we need truth, and we need a channel of that truth to be opened. We know it's to do with Eliyahu, and this must be somehow in connection to that channel of prophecy that's available to Moshiach, that enables him to attain that wonderful level, and enables him to be taught so that he's awakened, his soul levels are elevated up, his consciousness of who he is elevated up until he attains the level of Moshiach. Okay, and this is what we've got to pray for and hope for that happens. And when we see it in the microcosmic level, we can be sure it's also happening in the macrocosmic level. Okay, so what we're doing here is very much a microcosmic level. You magnify that up to the global level with somebody that can influence the entire of humanity for good, and then we're talking about the Moshiach. Okay, so we've got Eliyahu Hatishbi comes to an order of 94, but it also comes to regular of 789, and together they come to 863. Okay, at this point it says see over, and I am going to go see over. Okay, I normally finish up, but because this is very curious, this 863, where does it come from? Okay, so straight away, we've got this unusual verse, and I love all these unusual verses that are cram-packed full of revelation. It's just a joy, because we're so accustomed to reading the verses that speak to us, the words that speak to us, but when we get these strange ones and we have to delve and dive in order to reveal some light from him, it makes it even more delightful. So this is Iqbal, the son of Nathan, of Zobah, Bani the Gadite. That's from 2 Samuel 23:36. This is the only verse in the Tanakh with a regular gematria of 817, and we'll come to why that's significant. But if you look at the Hebrew, you will notice highlighted in red the letters Yod, Bet, Mem. Okay, but if you read them backwards, it's Mem, Bet, Yod, which is the initials for Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, so we know there's a great deal of significance regards this verse and Moshiach ben Yosef. This is the only verse with a regular gematria of 817 and an ordinal of 178. We'll cover that number, and we're going to cover 817, obviously. That comes to a total of 995. So point 1 then, behold, my sheaf arose. Okay, so we know this is about Yosef. Yosef, this is talking about Yosef's sheaf that arose in the field, and all the other sheaves bowed to it. Yosef is out gathering the lost sparks. Okay, he's gathering in the lost sparks, and when he's done his gathering, his sheaf will surely arise, and all the other sheaves will bow down to it. And who has been out gathering the sheaves in the field of Esav, the field that represents Esav? Moshiach ben Yosef. And who is Moshiach ben Yosef? Yeshua. He's the only person that's been out in the field gathering in the lost of the house of Israel and others beside. Okay, so that comes to an ordinal. Regular 692, ordinal of 125, and together they come to 817, which is exactly the regular gematria of this verse, and it's the only one without regular gematria. Okay, so point 2, Iqbal the son of Nathan of Zobah, which where we get the Moshiach ben Yosef from. You'll see that there's Ben Natan, and you'll see there's a hyphen between them. Okay, so the Natan is not obviously highlighted, but we've still got the Moshiach ben Yosef quite significantly showing there. Anyway, so this comes to, we can tell from the gematria it's heavily related. It comes to 733 regular. We've come across this number loads and loads of times. It comes up all the time when revealing the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef, and that has got an ordinal of 130, which is ayin. Okay, we're trying to reveal the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef, and you have to understand the concept of the Moshiach in the husks with his name erased, and that the letter that is raised from his name is the letter ayin. That comes to the 863, which is Eliyahu HaTishbi. Okay, so we know Eliyahu HaTishbi, the truth that he gives to Yaakov, that empowers the good inclination to overpower the evil inclination, is all about the revelation of Moshiach ben Yosef. That's the truth that Eliyahu HaTishbi strengthens the moisture of the generation with till he attains the level of Moshiach. Okay, we know because 730, we'll come across 733, but we've come across it loads. Right, so we've got point 3 then, Chochmat Sofrim Tisrach, and the wisdom of the stages will stink. This is what the Vilna Gaon says. It's number 50 of the 156 appellations of Moshiach ben Yosef as written in the book called Torah by the Vilna Gaon. That comes to 4 times 386, which is 4 times Yeshua. The ordinal of that comes to 212, which is also 4 times Yeshua, but Yeshua ordinally. Okay, Tisrach comes to 733. It's 668 regularly and 65 ordinally. 65 is another very significant number. It's about mezuzah. We've gone through all these concepts about the mezuzah, the incredible revelation that points to the concept of all the united forces of Moshiach, Moshiach ben David, Moshiach ben Yosef, Moshiach ben Ephraim. I'll probably put a slide up. I've put it up a number of times. It's really very exciting. Okay, and that's 668 regular plus 65 ordinary for mezuzah comes to 733, which is the verb to forget that's used regarding Yosef, like Yosef was forgotten. He was forgotten in the pit. Okay. Point 5, we can see that word tisrach. Tisrach has got 2 meanings. It means will stink, but it also means like an overhanging excess. So it's used in another verse. We came across this in the Ramchal teachings, last teachings. So fine woolen coat and his brothers saw. This is this word in consecutive order in 4 words, and it comes up in these exact words, and it's to do with the fine coat, the Ketanet Pesayim. Okay, and his brothers saw. So we're looking about this is indicative of a revelation of Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, and it's all connected to all these major concepts. Okay, that comes to a total of 1,308 plus 192 ordinally, and that comes to 1,500. That's 10 times 150, and 150 is kanaf. It means wing. So, we know that Moshiach ben Yosef is a wing of the bird of redemption. Okay, so we're talking about him as a wing. He's a left wing of the bird of redemption. Moshe's the body. Moshiach ben David's the right wing. So he's a wing of joy. Okay, so moving on. This next text box, starting at A, Yosef's bones, are connected. They're not connected to what we were looking in Terumah directly, but in an indirect way through this, they are connected. And because it's so beautiful, I just wanted to include it. I wouldn't have normally included it, but it's so nice. We've got the bones of Yosef, which come to a total of 885, regular and ordinally. So the ordinally is 123, and that's the same as he sets an end to darkness, and that's what we're looking at. We're wanting an end to this horrific darkness that conceals the name Yod Heh Vav Heh. The initial letter spells shekel, so Ket Shem Lechoshek, Kof Shem Lamed, not in order, but you can rearrange them they rearranged to shekel, which obviously means money, indicating the need to redeem Yosef's bones. We need to redeem Yosef, who's now Moshiach ben Yosef Yeshua, because he was sold into Edomite slavery, Edomite exile, because he was put to death, and that was it then resulted in an exile. Okay, point C, 885, which is the bones of Yosef. The total for both the bones of the bones of Yosef even, and then 110, which is the age of Yosef when he died. It's the age of Joshua when he died, and Joshua was buried in a place which includes the word Sarach. I think it's Timnath Sarach. So we've got Te Sarach, and then we've got this. So we've got Tesrach, which is Wilsting, or the overhang, like an overhanging curtain. But the place where Joshua is buried also includes these three of those words, the Samech, Reish, and Chet, Sarach. And we also know that it sounds a lot like the woman who found the bones of Moshe. The bones of Yosef with Moshe. She was called Sarach, and I have read a commentary which says her name means, like an excess, and the where they get that from is from the word used to describe the overhanging the excess overhang of the curtains in the Mishkan. The tabernacle in the wilderness is described with this word Tesrach. Okay, so there's all kinds of connections, between the woman who found the bones, because the sages say that is connected to this word. The meaning of Sarach is connected to this word, because the Samach and the Shin can be interchanged. So it could be Tesarach. It sounds exactly the same. It's spelt exactly the same. So there's obviously some connection to that. Yeah, Timnath Sarach is the place where, I just wanted to check, where Joshua is buried. Okay, Timnath Sarach. And that's very significant because it's got an ordinal of 114, and that is Yonah plus Esav. And we've gone through that concept, and it's also 2 times Moshiach, and it's also the mysterious, to do is connected to the mysterious. It's the ordinal value for the mysterious letters on the mezuzah. There's mysterious 3 names on the mezuzah. All kinds of wonderful things. It's This is the day that Hashem has made. So there's lots of connections to that, and coming back to this as well. So all messianic, all glorious, and all connecting up. It's like all the dots start to connect together and start to bring about a wonderful revelation, a whole complete picture of the whole complete revelation of Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, so I think I've covered that then. What else have I got? So 885 plus 110 equals 995, which is exactly the same as this verse, the regular and the ordinal, that is giving us some indication that it's very much connected to Yosef. Why? Because it equals behold my sheaf arose, which is talking about Yosef. Very, very powerful revelation in that. And it's also got the initial letters Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, another thing that's connected here to this particular verse that I just wanted to put in because it's just so fascinating also, that verse at the top has got an ordinal of 178. We've also got another verse with an ordinal of 78, and this is connected again to this revelation of the truth within the lie, because this particular verse here, and the Lord spoke to Gad, David's seer, saying, and that is from 1 Chronicles 21:9. It's got a gematria of 601. Okay, and that is the only verse in Tanakh with a gematria of 601. Okay, the only verse. So we know that this number was we've done a study about the Baal Shem Tov revealing the truth in the lie. There's a teaching on it, revealing the truth in the lie, and it's all to do with the Baal Shem Tov. The 601 is a tipping point of truth to reveal the truth in the lie. So that's why this verse is so significant. Okay, Gad was able to reveal the truth in the lie. Gad was King David's seer. Okay, so we're talking about Eliyahu Hanavi here, Eliyahu Tishbi, and the whole flow of truth down to Moshe. Well, you think Gad needed that same flow? David needed the same flow. He was the Moshiach. He needed to be connected to truth. He needed to be able to have his Yetzer Tov overpower his Yetzer Hara, and he needed to also he was defeating enemies. He needed to be able to suppress external forces, and like we say, that's only done by the truth. So we can see Gad was very much connected to this flow of truth for King David, the Moshiach ben David. And this is what we wanting to attain, hopefully. We wanting to attain the final Redeemer, who is Moshiach ben Yosef. Moshiach ben David. Okay, so it's all connected. It's all connected to this. 178 is 2 times 89, and 89 is Yetzer Hara. You can see that, if we look down on point 1 anyway, under this box, and the Lord spoke to Gad, David's seer, it comes to 330, that part. Okay, 333 times 110, which is Yeshua HaMashiach. So it's all connected to all these things that we've all been going about. Well, been going on about Yeshua HaMashiach, and then we went on about Yosef's bones and Joshua where he died and things like that. All comes to 110. Yosef died at 110. Joshua died at 110. Sorry if I didn't make myself clear. All right. So point 2 on the final text box, 178 is 2 times 89, which is 2 times Yetzer Hara, and that's exactly what we have to overpower. We have to overpower with the truth. The only thing that can overpower a lie is the truth. Okay, and in every lie is hidden the truth. This is why we've got this tipping point of truth connected to this 601. 601 comes from the fact that ordinal gematria for falsehood is 60. The ordinal gematria for truth is 36. So 36 over 60 comes to 600. If you do it as parts per thousand, it comes to 600 out of 1,000. Okay, we're wanting to receive a revelation of the Moshiach, which comes to 1,000. Moshiach ben David, Moshiach ben Yosef. So it's better to be expressed in parts per 1,000. Because that comes to Moshiach ben David and Moshiach ben Yosef together. And it's also what Moshiach's called Ha-Aleph Kadol, the great Aleph, which comes to 1,000, and we're trying to attain the 1,000 lights of Bina. All these things are connected, all highly messianic. Okay, so in order, the Baal Shem Tov told us that within the lie is the truth. This is a very messianic concept. I've gone over this. I'm not going to go over it in great detail, but we got to the value 601 is the tipping point. So 600 out of 1,000, at this point of a 600, the truth and the lie are equal. You need to tip, go further into the truth. So go further and reveal the truth in the lie. That's what we're wanting to do. Moshiach ben Yosef is concealed in a complete lie. Okay, and then you've got the Erev Rav, which is completely delusional. Their understanding of the Mashiach in the husks, their understanding of Mashiach is completely delusional, because their understanding of Yeshua is completely delusional, and he is the Mashiach. Okay, so we got problems with Sheker that need to be overcome. We need to reveal the truth in the lie. What truth? We need to reveal the true identity of Yeshua being the Mashiach, and the concept of the Mashiach ben Yosef in the husks with us. Okay, so this is why this is connected to that. This particular verse is so significant. So point 1, point 2, in order to defeat the Yetzer Hara, we need the truth. We're never going to defeat it with a lie. Okay? It is a lie and a fantasy and a fiction that we need to defeat. The only thing we can defeat it with is the truth. So we need to know every channel open to us that's going to give us access to that truth. And now we can see Eliyahu Atishbi is the channel that's specifically aligned for this task of getting the truth to Yaakov. It comes via Eliyahu Tishbi. You've got Eliyahu Navi to deal with the doubt and the sheker, the falsehood. But this is about, empowering the truth, empowering the Yetzer Tov with the truth in order to defeat the Yetzer Hara. So point 3 then, 178 plus 110, Yeshua Mashiach is 288, the lost sparks of holiness. That Mashiach ben Yosef is in exile trying to retrieve. These are the lost sparks of holiness. These are the lost house of Israel. This is all the lost sparks of holiness. You know, they're not just 288. This is symbolic, but it's called the 288 lost sparks of holiness. And I've gone on a few times where that comes from. I'm not going to go on again today. So all that's really interesting. Let's go back then. I hope I explained myself. I felt like I was jumping about a little bit, but I hope I was straight with the way I explain myself. Point 3 then, spices for the anointing oil. That comes to 1,170 and 171 ordinarily, which comes to 1,341. Okay, so point 4, signs of Mashiach. They come to also 1,170. Okay, the signs of Mashiach is very much related to Armalus. I've gone on teachings about Armalus in a book called The Signs of Moshiach. The Armalus was mentioned, and Armalus is the anti-Mashiach. It's the fantasy fiction of who we've got in our minds regarding who Mashiach is and what Mashiach is. This is the delusion that needs defeating, with the truth about who and what Mashiach is, so that's where that's connected. But we need to be picking up all the signs of Mashiach. Okay, so when you talk about Armalus is basically pure fantasy fiction. There's no reality in the things that we believe in the Mashiach is, or what the Mashiach is, and what Yod He Vav He has actually done for real in the last 2,000 years. Most of it's fantasy fiction. Even the Muslims, I was reading up about the Muslim concept of the anti-Moshiach, and they just say that it's like a shadow of the real Moshiach. It's just the same concept. It's not the truth of who Moshiach is. It's like trying to describe a fantasy. It's what's in our imagination. It's what our Yetzer Hara has imagined the Moshiach to be. And it's fantasy fiction. We have to know the truth about the Moshiach and defeat this force of Armilos, this force of anti-Moshiach. And this book, Signs of the Moshiach, was a book which made reference to this concept of the anti-Moshiach. So it came up. I have analysed it thoroughly, all those. And there's some quite significant gematria that come out of that, but we haven't got time to go through that today. So ordinarily, that's 51 and 57 comes to 108. That's a significant number in itself. I don't think we're going to go through that today. But point 5 then, it came to pass at the end of 2 full years. That's Genesis 41:1. That comes to a regular of 1,161 and an ordinal of 207. 207 is or light. Okay, altogether that comes to 1,368, which is 171 times 8, and so we can connect that back up to the spices for the anointing oil, because that's got an ordinal of 171. This 171 is very significant. So is the 1,161, and we've come across this in the, I think it was even last teaching. Okay, so let's just go over it. So we're clarifying all these issues, and we can see these massive connections. They're just going one to another, to another, to another. They're just coming up in everything. They're everywhere. Everything is revealing the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef. And Yeshua being the Moshiach ben Moshiach ben Yosef. Point 6 then, and he said, for there is a hand on the throne of the Eternal. There shall be a war for the Lord against Amalek from generation. That comes to 1,161, which is exactly the same as it came to pass at the end of 2 full years. Okay, the 2 full years are where Joseph was forgotten in the pit after he'd interpreted the cupbearer's dreams. He was forgotten because he was trying to get the cupbearer to show him favour to Pharaoh, get Pharaoh's favour for him and get him out of prison. And he spoke 2 words, and those 2 words cost him a year in prison each, because they showed like an underlying lack of faith in Yod He Vav He. And those 2 years are symbolic of the 2 millennia that Moshiach ben Yosef has been in the exile of Edom. Okay, so it's all connected concepts. So that comes to point 6 comes to 1,161, but it's also connected to the 171, because the regular comes to 1,161. The ordinal comes to 342, which is 2 times 171. So we can see that's very much related to the 2 years. What has Moshiach ben Yosef been doing for 2 millennia? He's been fighting against the forces of Amalek. They are what conceal him. That's the doubt that conceals him. And we often see, when we're looking at, there's a lot within Christianity that manifest in the physical, the incarnations of Amalekites. Okay, so they actually incarnate as Christians. They don't just incarnate as Christians, the Amalekites, because the Amalekites are part of the Erev Rav as well. So the Amalekites incarnate as Jews, this force within Judaism that's Amalekites. Okay. So for the Erev Rav, so the Moshiach ben Yosef is really suffering as a consequence of this. Because one, the Amalekites annihilate the Jews, but they don't do it in 2 ways. They do it from out with people who are Christians, but they also do it within. The own people turn against them and prevent them from accessing the truth about Moshiach. There's people who know, and they keep it all secret. It's been kept secret for a long time, and they've got all these elites, religious elites, and it's all run by Erev Rav, and it's oppressing and suppressing the truth. And this is the will of Hashem, because He wants us to fight against this. He's not going to find redemption to us on a plate. We are going to have to use every wit that we've got, every talent that we've got to outwit all these forces that are evil. We are going to have to work very hard and very quick and very fast to get these forces annihilated once and for all. This Amalek has got to go, and we've got to be brave enough to stand our ground and face him down and reduce him to just wipe him out completely. There's no part of him going to be remaining. Doubt cannot remain. You can't have doubt in the name Yod He Vav He. Okay, so point 7 then. Another thing that comes to 171, the only opposite to this force of Amalek, is Yeshua. It's 53 plus 118 for the first filling out of the name Yeshua, and that comes to 171.8. Take the stick of Yosef, that's at 855 regular plus 144 ordinary. 144 is also linked to this verse. We'll pick up that very soon. So 855 is 5 times 171. Okay, so the rectification of Yeshua occurs when the stick of Yosef joins to the stick of Yehuda, when Yosef has attained the level of the 999 footsteps of Moshiach, because 855 plus 144 ordinary comes to 999, which we know this is the footsteps of Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, so it's all significant, and that connects back to the verse, because the total verse comes to 3,140, which is 10 times Shaddai. Okay, and that's all connected to the tikkun of the whole world. Tikkun means the repair, and that we've already pointed, that's connected back to the Elenu prayer, which is another appellation of Moshiach ben Yosef, repair of the world. I can't quite remember it now, but I went through that earlier. Right, so we've got to point 10, then El Shaddai spelt out is 162 ordinarily plus 999 regular, that comes to 1161, links up to all these concepts, okay, that we've just gone over. It's a very significant number. This 1,600, 1,161 and 171 together, extremely significant, and the 999. It's all connected. It's all Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, so another 1,161. Point 11 then. Point 11, 1,161 is 3 times 387. So that's 3 times Yeshua plus a Kalel. Because Yeshua is 386, and we're allowed to put a Kalel, because as we can see, the Kalel represents Hashem hidden in everything, and Hashem has hidden the Moshiach ben Yosef, and it's for us to find him. Okay, it's also 3 times Yeshu plus Yonah. Yeshu is 316, Yonah is 71, together they come to 387. Okay, so 3 times that is 1,161. It's all connected. It's all connected. Okay. Right, point 12 then. And for the incense comes to 900 regular and plus 144. So we can see that's connected to point 8. So that's 144 ordinarily, the stick of Yosef, which is connected to all these concepts. So that comes to point 12, a total of 1,044. That's 2 times 261. Highly significant number, 261. And then 2 times 522. I've got C over, we will see over. Point 13 then is Yeshua spelt out, comes to also 522. So he's the incense, really. He's connected to this concept of incense there. And we've also got him connected to, is 117 ordinally for Yeshua spelt out. That's point 13. That's Yeshua spelt out as it sounds. 117 ordinally is connected back up there. Look, point 3. 117 times 10 is 1,170. So that's point 3. The regular for spices for the anointing oil, and it's also the regular for signs of the Moshiach. What are the signs of Moshiach? That Yeshua is the Moshiach. It's the only sign you need to know. Okay. Let's move on then. Right, so we've got this. These are just some interesting things. We've got that point 1, which I said we'd come back to. So, and for the incense is 900 plus 144. We've already gone through this. That comes to 900, and 2 times 900 is 1,800. So then we can go to point 2. And we came across this very recently in a teaching that I did. On that day, man shall turn to his maker, and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel. Okay, so I've done an analysis on this verse. I can't remember to what degree I've gone through that teaching, but anyway, if I've not gone through it, it will come up again because I have recently analysed it. Okay, so point 2 then, and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel. That comes to 1,800 regular and 261 ordinally. So we can see that this is connected to and for incense in more than one way, and it's also connected to the fact that for the incense is connected to the filling out of Yeshua, because the filling out of Yeshua came to 522. I think I'll include that actually so that we know where we're getting that information from. Just better pick that up. So let's go back to it. Just include that. So it should be slightly different points now. When I said point 2, it will be point 3 now because I've included something else. Just bear that in mind. Okay, so point 3 now is, and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel, which comes to 1,800, and that is a regular of 261. So together they come to 1,061. So like I say, we can see they're connected in 2 ways. 2 times 900 is 1,800, and we've also got the overall total for the incense is 1,044, which is 4 times 261, and 261 is the ordinal for and his eyes shall look to the Holy One of Israel. So we've got like a double connection there, which is wonderful. We're getting double and triple connections with stuff now, because the more that you analyse and the more that you go through these numbers, the more connections you pick up. It's just as simple as that. Let's go and have a look at some more connections then, because they're all glorious. And like I say, this is today's reading in the Torah. Pretty sure this is actually today's reading. It's certainly this week's reading, Terumah. So it's nice for it to be so fresh. Right, let's have a look what else we've got then. Point 3. My numberings have gone out. Right, so point 4 it is. You shall remember what Amalek did to you on the way. That comes to 1,800, and an ordinal of 234, which is 2 times 117, which is a filling out of Yeshu. So there you go. Yeshu empowers Amalek, basically. The erasing of his name is what empowers Amalek, and Amalek is what hides the identity of the Moshiach. Okay? Oh no, sorry. What I say is not Yeshua, is it? It's Yeshua, an ordinal of Yeshua. I think it's actually connected to Yeshua. Just wait a minute. Okay, so forget that what I've just said about Yeshu being hidden by Amalek. Yeshua is the force that overcomes Amalek. Okay, but is also the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef is definitely hidden in the husks of Amalek. Is hidden in an incredible amount of doubt, especially for the Jewish people. Okay, the levels of doubt, because for everything that they faced battling against Amalek, for real, the incarnations of Amalek, they don't see Amalek within themselves, so they don't see the evil that they have suppressing them from within, but they certainly see it incarnate within the Christians that have come against them and attacked them throughout 2,000 years. And it's horrific. You can't even imagine what pain and suffering that Amalek incarnated in the lives of Christians have caused. It's just something that needs erasing. The doubt regarding Moshiach needs erasing, so this suffering ends. And the suffering of Moshiach ben Yosef in the husks, primarily, his primary suffering is the pain that has been inflicted on the Jewish people in his name. Okay, that's in his name, with a husk that's hiding him, Amalek. So all those people that have acted as Amalekites towards the Jewish people and caused them to suffer and kill and everything, and try to totally and utterly destroy the nation of Israel, the Jewish people. Okay, thankfully to no success. But it isn't for want of trying. It isn't for want of trying. May their name be erased. May their name be erased. So the suffering of Moshiach ben Yosef, this primary suffering, his most painful suffering. Yeah, he's hungry. He's hungry in the lives of those who are hungry, and he's thirsty in the lives of those who's thirsty, and he's naked in the lives of those who's naked, and he's with the widows and the orphans suffering their agony. But the greatest suffering is the suffering that people have committed in his name against his people. Okay, this has got to stop. This has got to be erased once and for all. This has got to be erased once and for all, because it's an intolerable suffering. It's an intolerable suffering, for him. And even every nasty thought that we have against Jews and stuff like that, and every bitterness, every word that we speak, every act that we do, every evil thought that we think, it affects the Moshiach. But the soul of Moshiach is suffering as a consequence. We have got to change these filthy rags. We've got to get out of these filthy rags. We've got to divest the Moshiach of these filthy rags that bring his name to the dirt. Bring his name to the absolute dirt. Okay, it's not the Jewish people that are killing Moshiach. It's not. We're the ones trampling his name to the ground. We're the ones that are keeping him suffering in this place of exile. Okay, like I say, there is a force of Amalek within Judaism that totally, absolutely needs erasing. There's no question of it. It needs dealing with the same lack of mercy that this force is. It can't show any mercy whatsoever. It simply needs erasing, spiritually and physically erasing. And we just can't stop until it's accomplished. Point 5 then. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of Yod He Vav He. That's Proverbs 9:10. That comes to an ordinal of 180. So we can see that's connected. 5 times 180 is 900, which connects us back to point 1. Point 6 also. David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Chayam. David Melech Yisrael is alive and enduring. Baruch Hashem, comes to 180 ordinally. And Yeshua plus Yeshua spelt out, 53 plus 127, Yeshua spelt out that particular way, also comes to 180. Okay. Right, I think this is the last slide that we're going through. Again, we've got at the top point 1, and for the incense. So we're going to have a look at some of these numbers. I think it's 144 that we're going to pay some attention to. And then I don't like to use the word tentative, but a related verse is very significant also. Okay, so let's go and have a look at this then. So we've got point 1, we've already covered that. We want to pick up the fact that it's got an ordinal of 144. Okay, so point 3, we've got Azael. Azael is related to the Nephilim, okay, which is one of the Erev Rav, by the way. 144 really represents unity, unity of the tribes to overpower Azael. So Azael is connected to the goat that gets sent into the wilderness on Yom Kippur. Okay, so there's all kinds of connections. I can't go into them today, but there's Uzzah and Azael. There's two fallen angels of the Nephilim. They're called, Nephilim means fallen. They're called Uzzah and this one Azael. So this particular fallen angel comes to 144. The force that overcomes that is obviously connected to this concept of the incense and also the unity of the tribes. The incense is actually made up of 11 spices. Okay, so I don't quite know how it's all connected, but you can imagine that there's 11 different spices that go into that incense. And then the fact that so the 11 spices go in, and I suppose it could be connected to the 12 tribes in that, you know, the 11 spices could represent 11 of the tribes, and then the tribe that gives the offering of that offers up the incense is from the tribe of Levi, isn't it? Ultimately, they're from the house of Aaron, the Kohanim, but they are from the tribe of Levi. So I don't know whether there's any connection. That's just a novel thing I've just included, but basically it's about uniting all these spices together to form one beautiful fragrance. And even in amongst that, one of the spices is from a non-kosher animal. It's from the husk that's on top of a snail shell. So, you know, it's all about unity, really, and sometimes within our number we've got some people that might not be as cautious as the others, but we're still all one. You know, we've got to understand this. We are considered as one. We're not considered as just individuals. We're considered collectively, and sometimes in that collective there's undesirables. We've got to remember that. Okay, yes, we've got to attain as much perfection as we can individually, but we've also got to remember that we are on our own with very little. It's this concept of being unique, but united as well. So there's 11 unique fragrances offered by a unique tribe, the Levi. They're the only one that can. So the Levi and the Kohanim are the only ones that can offer up the spices from their house, from the Levi. So they're unique, but they're also united to the rest. You know, you can look into these concepts and see wonderful things. So we've got this Moshiach ben Yosef is coming at the level of Yechida. Yechida means unique one, but it also means united. So you've got this concept again, where yes, we are individuals, and yes, there are some people that are even wicked amongst us, but we're connected even so, and we're counted as one even so. This is why on Yom Kippur you beat your chest and say, you know, I've stolen, I have done, you know, all the horrible crimes, 22 crimes you've got to beat your chest for on Yom Kippur, and you might not have committed any of them. But you're not beating your chest for yourself. You're beating your chest for the fact that you are part of a people. And part of our number is a wicked. But we still have to go through. We're counted in that number. So yes, there's a uniqueness to us. But there's also a powerful... In that same expression of uniqueness, we are united. So there's all these wonderful concepts anyway. So the power of unity really overcomes that. This is what's given on Yom Kippur. These are just inspirations I've just got now. I mean, I hadn't thought about this previously, but I'd already wrote about the unity of all the tribe overpowers them. I'm trying to see the connection from that and the incense, and that's what's come to my mind. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that anyway. I enjoyed thinking about that. Point 4 is Nanach comes to 108. I did a massive analysis of Nanach. Nanach, Nachman, Ma'uman basically says Yeshua is the Moshiach. You know, the total comes to, I think it's 461 or something like that, which is Moshiach spelt out. You know, it's all the ordinals of Moshiach not Moshiach spelt out, Yeshua spelt out. So it's basically saying he's Moshiach. But it just so happened that this part of the Nanach, Nachman, Ma'uman comes to 144. Okay. Which I think is quite interesting. It's interesting to me anyway. And that is also got an ordinal of 36, which is Melech. That's king ordinally. Normally it would be 90, but ordinally it's 36. Let's have a look at point 5 then. The full ordinal of the letter ayin, cumulated and filled to second filling ordinal. So we've got 16 for the letter ayin itself, and then we've got 40 for the ordinal of ayin filled out to the first filling, and then we've got 88 for the letter ayin filled out to the second filling. That comes to 144 in total. And then I've put the point that the defective nun not filled with the vav, see it above, right, that's not part of that one then, so I'll take that out. Even the defect reveals the perfection of the name Yod He Vav He, and that's like what we are. Our imperfection ultimately reveals his perfection, because when we strive to overcome that imperfection through our toil and through our effort, we ultimately reveal the name Yod He Vav He. We're living in a time where the light is very much defective. That's why in the Torah the word for the Ma'orot, which is the luminaries, which is talking about the sun and the moon, is spelt with 2 missing vavs. It's defective. Okay, when the final redemption comes, we won't be living in this defective state. Okay, so the nun should be filled out nun vav nun. That comes to 106, which is 2 times Yeshua, and it's also equal to Yonah the regular of 71 plus Yonah the ordinal of 35. Right. Then we're going to have a look now at this next text box, which is a verse from Job 23:09. It says, "In the north, when he made it, I do not see. He wraps up the south, and I cannot see." That's a gematria of 1,731 and ordinal of 300. We can see clearly that the ordinal is related to and for the incense. Okay, because 3 times that's 900. It's also related to all those points that came up 1,800. 6 times 300 is 1,800, but it's also connected to, up above, if you see, 2,731 is actually 1,000 plus 1,731. Okay, so there is a connection, and when we see what that 1,731 is, we will see that it's just an interesting connection. It's worth pulling up and it's worth going over. I have gone through this verse before because it's extremely significant and it's extremely messianic. That 300, for example, it's an extremely significant value. Okay, so the verse total comes to 1,731, which is 3 times 577. This is point 1 on the last text box, which comes to Hu Niflaoth, which is it is wonderful, Psalm 118.23, verse 23. 500.2 then, 577 is also Lada'at Chochmah, to know wisdom. That's from Proverbs 1 to chapter 1 verse 2. 577 is also and you will be like gods, from Genesis 3 verse 5. And this is what's significant, point 3, Moshiach ben David plus Moshiach ben Yosef plus Moshiach ben Ephraim comes to 424 plus 556. This is the normal spelling of Moshiach ben David, by the way. So 424 plus 566 plus 741, which is Moshiach ben Ephraim, comes to 1,734. So we can see that this whole concept of the oil for the lighting, spices for the anointing oil, etc., is connected to this verse, and it's also connected to the united forces of the Meshiachim, the Messiahs. Right, point 4 in the north comes to 377 plus 53 ordinally, which equals 430. That's a very significant number because it's shekel, and we know that the initial letters of Kate's Shem Lechoshech, also spelled shekel. It's also nefesh. We want him to pidyon nefesh. We need to save the soul of Moshiach from Esav. We need to buy him back and redeem him with shekels. And I keep pointing out about Ariel Cohen Aloro. Please give if you feel inclined to give to this worthy cause, because you were actually buying back the soul of Moshiach from Esav, from exile, from his suffering. Okay, by supporting this fund, and it will all be done in an official way. He's a Cohen, and he is a disciple of a world-leading rabbi, Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg. Okay, so the ordinal is 53, which is an ordinal of Yeshua, and 43 is an ordinal of Esav. So there's all kinds of concepts going on there. And then point 5 is it's basically Amalek spelt out that to the second fill-in, and it comes to 377 ordinally. Let me just check that it is Amalek. Yes, it is. It's Amalek spelled out to the second fill-in. That's got an ordinal of 377. And then we've got point 6 finally, Yosef spelled out, plus the regular value for Yosef comes to 377. Okay, I think I'll just have a quick look at some of these values for 300. Okay, so point 1 then. Let me just change them numberings. Okay, so point 1, just having a look at this 300, because 1 is connected to this verse that we've just been looking at, that we know is also connected to the overall total of this oil for lighting, spices for the anointing oil, and the incense. Okay, so point 1, we've got and for the incense, which is 900. So obviously 3 times 300 is 900. Okay, so point 2 then, who was ascended to heaven and descended, and who has gathered wind in his fists? So this is a very, very, very common verse that we come across. It comes up all the time. Why does it come up all the time? Because it's one of the most significant verses to reveal the Moshiach ben Yosef. It's bound to come up all the time. So we go over this all the time. The initial letter spelled from Esav. This is where Moshiach ben Yosef needs redeeming from. He's gone into an exile. He's suffering in that exile. He was sold into that exile. He was sold into that slavery, and he will need buying back. Okay, so we've come across that lots and lots. That's connected to the value 153, which is the 153 fishes in the dragnet. It's connected to the concept of teshuvah, because Esav ordinally equals teshuvah. We need to return Yeshua back from Esav to Am Yisrael. We need to return him. Okay, right, so 300 also is 2 times Kanaf, the healing wings of Mashiach, love and joy. We've come across this concept a lot. Kanaf is 52, which is also Ben, son, and it's also the ordinal of Mashiach. Okay, it's also the ordinal of Eliyahu Hanavi as well. Right, 300 is also Ruach Elohim. I think that's, just wait a minute, I think it's and the Spirit of God. I'll just figure that out. No, it's right. It's 300 for Ruach Elohim. So we're absolutely fine with that. And then there's also and Ruach Elohim, according to the sages, is the spirit of Moshiach. Okay, that hovered over the water. Point 5 then, the Lion of the tribe of Yehuda comes to 300 plus an ordinal of 93, and then that adds up to 393. 393 is the overall total for Shiloh. That's the regular total, which is 345, plus the ordinal total, which is 48. Okay, so 345 is Moshe. 48 is 2 times David, spelt out properly, spelt out with the additional yud, sorry. 48 is also the ordinal of 48 is also the ordinal of Yosef. Sorry, I'm doing this from memory now. I'll probably put a slide up for you. And then the overall total, 393, is also the filling out of, it's also the value of Yeshu, one of the values of Yeshu, and here we can see what else is it. This is Yeshu spelt out as well. So it's the second filling out. What is it? No, it's the first filling out comes to 393. The first filling out of Yeshu comes to 393. It's what's highlighted in orange. Okay, all the ordinal values of that, however, come to 300 as well. So the ordinal value of Yeshu plus Yeshu filled out to the first filling plus Yeshu filled out to the second filling, so the 37, the 73 and the 190 all come to 300. Okay, so they've got a double connection. Plus the Erev Rav is also connected to the concept of Shiloh, because the total values of the initial letters of the Erev Rav, I think Negara, comes to 393. Probably put a slide up for that. And there we're going to end it. So we can see that all these ultimately connect back to the fact that Yeshua is Moshiach ben Yosef. Okay, shalom.